My friends think you're a loser. Prove them wrong, or I'm breaking up with you, she said, demanding I pay for a luxury vacation for her and her friends. I said, okay, and booked it. For myself. Left for Bali alone while she was shopping with her friends for the trip. She found out when I posted a photo captioned, "Prove them wrong." She called me 73 times. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. The sound of their laughter was like glass shattering on marble, sharp, expensive, and meant to be heard. I adjusted my grip on the ceramic mug of overpriced coffee, the one Qley had ordered for me with a sigh, saying, "Just get the cold brew, Leo. The drip here is for tourists." We were at the Perch, a brunch spot where the avocado toast cost more than my weekly grocery budget, and the patrons all looked like they'd been personally styled by the same vaguely disapproving Scandinavian ghost. Qley, Bianca, and Skylar, the hive, held court at the reclaimed wood table, a trio of sleek ponytails and designer athleisure. So I told him, Bianca was saying, flipping her hair, if the Tesla isn't the performance model, you might as well just buy a Prius and admit you've given up on life. She slid her eyes toward me. Right, Leo? I took a sip. I think the goal is to get from A to B. Bianca's smile was a thin, scarlet line, spoken like a true pragmatist. Skylar tittered. Qley squeezed my knee under the table, but it wasn't affectionate. It was a press of her nails, a signal, play along. Be better. Anyway, Qley interjected, her voice bright and artificial. We're not here to talk about cars. We're here because Bianca has the most amazing news. She leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with a reflected ambition that was never her own. Bianca produced her phone with a flourish. Bali. This villa. She turned the screen. It showed a monstrously beautiful estate, all white stone and infinity pools spilling into jungle vistas. 6 bedrooms. Private chef. It's literally a dream. Jeremy's company is doing their retreat in Cabo, so he said I should take my girls. Be ashamed to let the peak season pass. A cold knot formed in my stomach. I knew this dance. That's incredible, Qley breathed, her gaze locked on the screen. When? Next month. For 2 glorious weeks. Bianca's eyes now landed squarely on me. Of course, it's all booked. But I have the contact. All it takes is a deposit. The unspoken word hung in the air, mingling with the scent of truffle oil and privilege. Money. Skylar clapped her hands. Oh my God, Qley. You'd look insane by that pool. The content. Qley turned to me, her expression morphing into something performatively hopeful. Wouldn't that be amazing, babe? After your big project wraps up, we could all use a reset. I knew the numbers. I'd been saving for a ring, for a down payment on a place that would be ours, not a backdrop for her Instagram. This villa for 2 weeks would evaporate that savings. It looks substantial, I said carefully. Bianca's smile didn't waver. Living should be, Leo. Don't you think? She took a delicate bite of her $24 avocado toast. Qley deserves substantial. The rest of the brunch was a slow bleed. Comments about my sensible shoes. A question about whether my job, which paid for this entire lifestyle, was still stable with all the AI stuff. Qley didn't defend me. She just nodded along, her laughter a little too high, her touches a little too absent. I was an accessory that was clashing with the outfit. The silence in our apartment that evening was a different beast, heavy and charged. The performative gaiety was gone, stripped away like the expensive makeup she was currently scrubbing off in the bathroom. I was sitting on the couch, staring at a spreadsheet for the project that would secure my annual bonus, the bonus for the ring, when she walked out. She didn't sit. She stood in the doorway of the living room, arms crossed, wearing the silk robe I'd bought her for her birthday. We need to talk, Leo. Here it was. I closed my laptop. About Bali? About us, she said, but her tone was transactional. About our trajectory. I waited. She took a sharp breath, as if steeling herself for a difficult board meeting. My friends, they have concerns. They think I'm settling. They see how hard I work to curate my life, my image, and they see you content. Just content. And are they wrong? I asked, my voice quiet. Are you settling? That's not the point, she snapped, then reined herself in. The point is perception. Reality is perception, Leo. And their perception is that you're holding me back. That you're fine. But fine isn't exceptional. Bianca's Jeremy, he acts. He seizes opportunities. He understands that providing a certain lifestyle is part of the deal. A cold clarity began to seep through the numbness. This was a negotiation. I was the underperforming asset. Bali, I stated. Bali is an opportunity, she corrected, her eyes lit with a hard, entitled fire. For you to prove them wrong. To prove me wrong. To show that you can step up and provide a wow factor. That you're not just some budget-conscious, play-it-safe loser. The word, delivered so casually, so clinically, hung in the air between us. Loser. It wasn't screamed in anger. It was diagnosed. A final verdict from the committee of her life. All the late nights I'd worked so she could do her influencer collabs. The way I'd listened to her anxieties about follower counts. The quiet, steady support I mistook for a foundation. She saw it as the bare, boring concrete slab. So, she continued, sensing my silence as weakness, moving in for the close. Here's the deal. Bianca sent me the links. The villa, the flights. First class, obviously. Can you imagine the photos? You're going to book it. For all of us. A full, no expense spared, 2-week reset. You do this. She paused, offering a thin, mercenary smile. You do this, and you prove them all wrong. You prove you're the man I need you to be. Maybe you even prove it to yourself. She was reframing her greed as my salvation. My test. My redemption arc. And if I don't, my voice sounded distant, even to me. Her smile vanished, replaced by a look of icy dismissal. Then you confirm every single thing they say. And I can't be with someone who's okay with being less than. I deserve more. So, prove them wrong. Or I'm breaking up with you. It's that simple. She stood there, a beautiful statue of ultimatums, waiting for my pleading, my promises, my frantic agreement to mortgage my future for her present. I looked at her, the woman I'd shared a bed with for 3 years. I saw the calculation, the profound disrespect dressed up as motivation. I saw the transaction laid bare. I wasn't her partner. I was her funding source, her upgradable appliance. The cold clarity solidified into a decision. The knot in my stomach dissolved. A profound, eerie calm settled over me. I simply nodded. Okay. Her posture relaxed instantly. The triumph flashed in her eyes, so quick, she couldn't hide it. She'd won. She'd broken me into compliance. Good, she said, the smugness returning to her voice. I knew you'd step up. I'll forward you the emails. Don't cheap out on the flight credits. She turned and walked back toward the bedroom, already pulling out her phone, doubtless to text the hive. This is going to be epic. I heard the bedroom door click shut. I looked at the closed laptop, at the spreadsheet for the ring. I opened a new browser tab, then another. I didn't search for villas in Bali. I searched for solo travel tips. And for the first time in years, I felt my own lips curve into a faint, quiet smile. The calm that followed her ultimatum wasn't the numb stillness of shock. It was the clear, focused quiet of a pilot running through a pre-flight checklist. My emotions were no longer a factor. This was a logistics problem with an elegant, satisfying solution. I called in sick the next day, not from sadness, but from necessity. I needed operational security. First, finances. I logged into our joint account, the one I funded for bills, the one she treated as a supplemental shopping fund. I calculated exactly half of the current balance, transferred it to a new, private account, and left the remainder. Clean, fair, and legally unassailable. The savings for the ring, the down payment fund, the Bali or bust money, all of it was already in my name. I simply rerouted its destination. Next, travel. I didn't open her forwarded email with the villa links. Instead, I spent an hour researching. I didn't want her villa, the gaudy temple to other people's opinions. I found a place called Surya Awakening, a small cluster of bamboo eco-bungalows perched on the cliffs of Uluwatu. It had stunning views, a yogashala, and no Instagram geotag that Bianca would recognize. I booked a single bungalow for 3 weeks. Then, I booked a one-way, first-class ticket. Not for the status, but for the silence, the space, and the principle of the thing. If I was going to prove myself wrong, I was going to do it in comfort. Packing was a revelation. I didn't pack for us, for the imagined photos, for the performative relaxation. I packed for me. My best linen shirts, not because they were trendy, but because they breathed in the heat. My broken-in hiking boots, my favorite, well-thumbed novel by Neil Stevenson, my noise-canceling headphones. I packed my laptop. My work was remote, my projects were mine, and Bali had excellent Wi-Fi. I was not running away. I was relocating my office to a better view. The apartment was the final puzzle. I didn't want to come back to a shrine of our failure. I hired a deep clean service for the day after my flight. I didn't leave a dramatic letter. On the kitchen counter, next to the espresso machine she adored but never learned to use, I left a single piece of plain notepaper. Gone to Bali. Leo, 3 words. A fact, not a farewell. I took a photo of it with my phone. For later, the day of departure arrived. My flight was at 10 p.m. Throughout the day, my phone buzzed with a cheerful, demanding staccato. Qley, 1:14 p.m. Bianca found the perfect resort where pop-up at the Galleria. We're going. Remember, the villa has a gold-toned palette. Nothing beige. You're booking the airport limo for us, right? The black car service, not the town cars. Qley, 3:07 p.m. OMG Skylar just bought a hat that costs more than my first car. This is going to be the best trip ever. So glad you're doing this for us. For me. XO Qley, 5:30 p.m. Don't forget to check us all in online at exactly the 24-hour mark. Window seats for everyone. Each message was a bullet, but my armor was complete. I read them with the detached interest of an anthropologist studying a strange, entitled culture. I didn't reply. Silence was my weapon, and I was learning to wield it beautifully. At 7 p.m., as I imagined them sipping overpriced champagne at the mall, giddy with consumerist anticipation, I called an Uber Black. Just for me. I wheeled my single, pristine suitcase to the curb. The driver loaded it without comment. At the international terminal, the first-class check-in was a serene oasis. No lines, just hushed efficiency. Traveling alone today, sir? The agent asked pleasantly. Yes, I said, and the word felt like a revelation. Just me. The lounge was even better. I found a quiet corner overlooking the tarmac, the endless dance of lights in the gathering dark. I ordered a single malt, neat. I didn't touch my phone. I watched the planes come and go, each one a story of escape or return. Mine was the former, dressed as the latter. 30 minutes before boarding, I finally picked up my phone. I opened the camera roll, found the photo of the note on the counter. I attached it to a new text to Qley. Me, 8:52 p.m., image attached, I sent it. Then, I powered down my phone, removed the SIM card, and slipped it into the inner pocket of my carry-on. I'd get a local data SIM in Denpasar. For now, for the next 24 hours, I was gloriously, utterly unreachable. The flight was a dream of quiet luxury. I ate the surprisingly good seared tuna. I watched a dumb action movie without guilt. I slept for 7 solid hours, waking as the first hint of dawn painted the sky apricot and rose. When the wheels touched down on Balinese tarmac, a profound, unshakable peace settled into my bones. The humid, fragrant air that washed over me as I exited the plane wasn't just air, it was freedom. A driver from Surya Awakening was waiting, holding a sign with my name. Not Mr. and Mrs., just my name. The ride was a blur of vibrant green, intricate stone temples, and smiling strangers. The resort was more beautiful than the pictures. My bungalow was open air, listening to the crash of waves far below. It was perfect. I unpacked, showered, and changed into clean clothes. I felt new. I walked to the resort's infinity pool, which emptied visually into the vast Indian Ocean. It was late afternoon now, the light was liquid gold. I asked a staff member to take my picture. I wasn't posing. I was just standing there, a faint, unforced smile on my face, the endless ocean behind me. I looked relaxed. I looked happy. I looked like a man who had made the right decision. I got my new SIM, connected to Wi-Fi, and logged into Instagram from the browser. I hadn't posted in months. I uploaded the photo. The caption came to me as I gazed at the water. Sometimes proving people wrong doesn't mean giving them what they want. It means giving yourself what you need. #Bali, #prove them wrong, #solo. I hesitated for only a second before adding the final, precise twist. I tagged the location. Not Surya Awakening. I tagged the geolocation of the obscene, 6-bedroom villa Qley had demanded. The one she was, at this very moment, presumably standing outside of in furious, humiliated confusion. I hit post. Then I ordered a fresh coconut, opened my book, and didn't think about my phone for the rest of the day. The proof was in the picture. The silence was my reply. And the ocean, stretching out forever, was my only deadline. For 24 hours, I existed in a perfect, self-contained bubble. I woke with the sun to the sound of geckos chirping and distant gamelan music from the village temple. I ate papaya and pineapple, so sweet it tasted like candy. I spent the morning learning to surf on Padang Padang Beach, the salt water washing over me like a baptism. I was terrible at it, falling again and again, and I laughed each time, the sound foreign and wonderful in my own ears. The instructor, a wiry Balinese man named Ketut, just grinned and said, "Again, the ocean does not care about your pride, only your balance." Balance. That's what I was finding. In the afternoon, I took my laptop to a breezy open-air warung overlooking the rice terraces. I worked for 3 highly productive hours, the green vista fueling a clarity I hadn't felt in years. This wasn't running away. This was operational efficiency at its peak. I was delivering my best work from paradise. It was only as the spectacular sunset bled into indigo that I felt a twinge of curiosity. A mild, clinical itch. Not worry. Not anxiety. Just data collection. I powered on my old phone with a new local SIM. For a moment, there was only the peaceful blank slate of a new device. Then, I logged into my cloud account. The digital deluge began. The notifications didn't stream in, they avalanche. 73 missed calls. Qley, Bianca, Skylar. A number labeled Mom, Qley. Even 2 from a number I vaguely recognized as belonging to Jeremy, Bianca's Tesla-owning boyfriend. The text message thread with Qley was a sprawling, frantic novel of desperation. I scrolled to the beginning, right after my photo of the note. Qley, 8:53 p.m., my departure day, what is this? A joke? Leo, answer me. Qley, 9:15 p.m., we're packing. This isn't funny. Qley, 10:01 p.m., I'm calling you. Pick up. Then a shift. The timestamp was around 2 p.m. Bali time the next day, right after my Instagram post would have hit their morning. Qley, 2:07 p.m. Bali time, what the actual fuck, Leo. Qley, 2:09 p.m., where are you? We are at the airport. The villa management says there is no booking. None. Qley, 2:11 p.m., answer your phone, you coward. Qley, 2:15 p.m. Bianca is furious. Skylar is crying. You have humiliated me in front of everyone. Everyone. Qley, 2:30 p.m. please. Please, Leo. Just tell me this is a mistake. Tell me you booked it under a different name. I'll fix it. Just tell me what to do. Bianca, 2:45 p.m. Wow. Real classy, Leo. I always knew you were small time, but this is pathetic. You've completely destroyed Qley. Hope your little solo trip is worth it. I sipped my fresh coconut water, reading with detached fascination. The voicemails were even better. I put them on speaker, listening as I watched the first stars appear over the ocean. The first was from the airport. Chaos in the background. Announcements, crying, the sharp echo of a terminal. Leo? It's me. Pick up. Please. Where are you? The villa. The guy says there's no reservation under my name or yours. Did you use a different card? Did it decline? Oh God, my friends are all here with their bags. You need to call the company right now and fix this. This is a nightmare. Her voice was a whip crack of panic, tinged with utter disbelief that her plan could have a flaw. I was the flaw, and I had removed myself. The next was from what sounded like a taxi, an hour later. Okay. We're going to a hotel. A Marriott. By the airport. Bianca booked it. She's not speaking to me. Leo, you have to call me. Explain this. Is this about the loser thing? I didn't mean it. I was stressed. You can't just do this. You can't leave me stranded. I told everyone you were paying. You've made me a liar. The horror in her voice wasn't about losing me. It was about social bankruptcy. About being exposed as a fraud in front of her tribunal. I listened to a few more. One from Bianca, icy and contemptuous. You've shown your true, petty colors. Qley deserves a man, not a boy who throws tantrums. You'll never do better than her, and she will remember this. One from Qley's mother, Linda, her tone the familiar blend of disappointment and passive-aggressive pressure. Leo, this is very unlike you. Very immature. Qley is devastated. Whatever issue you have, this is not the way a mature adult handles it. You need to make this right, financially and emotionally. Call me. I deleted that one with particular satisfaction. The messages and voicemails over the next 24 hours showed the progression. The anger peaked, then began to curdle into something else. Qley, Text, day 2 my friends left. Bianca and Skylar took a flight to Cabo to meet Jeremy. They left me here at the airport Marriott. Alone. They said I'm a liability. My own friends. Qley, voicemail, day 2. Voice thick with tears, they just left. They said I was bad energy and they didn't want their trip ruined. I have no one, Leo. No one. Please, can you just call me? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I said those things. I was trying to impress them. It was always you. It's always been you. The manipulation was so transparent, it was almost artistic. The always you line, deployed only when her social capital hit 0. I didn't reply. My silence was a vast, uncaring ocean, and she was screaming into it. A mutual friend, Dave, a decent guy who'd always been on the periphery of the hive, texted me later that evening. Dave, dude. Just heard the full story from Megan, who heard it from Skylar. Holy shit. The legend of Leo grows. For what it's worth, Bianca told everyone at her fancy Cabo dinner that Qley failed the girlfriend test and couldn't control her man. It's a whole thing. Qley's Instagram is dark. You okay? I wrote back, my first and only communication to that world. Me. I'm in Bali. I'm great. Thanks, Dave. The final voicemail of that phase came late on my 3rd night. The tears were gone, replaced by a hollow, cold fury. This was the unvarnished Qley, the one the ultimatum had truly come from. You're enjoying this, aren't you? You sad, petty little man. You think you're winning? You're alone in a foreign country because you're too weak to handle a strong woman who wants a better life. You set me up. You planned this to humiliate me. You've ruined my friendships, my reputation. I hate you. Do you hear me? I hope you get dysentery. I hope you fall off a cliff. You are a loser. You will always be a loser. And I will make sure everyone knows it. I saved that one. Not as a memento of pain, but as a trophy. It was the raw, screaming proof of my correct decision. The final chip of the beautiful facade, revealing the rotten core. I powered the phone down again. The data was collected. The experiment was a resounding success. The next morning, I went on a sunrise hike to the Uluwatu temple. I watched the monkeys play and the surfers far below like tiny, brave specks. I made casual conversation with a French couple over coffee. I booked a day trip to learn traditional wood carving in a village up north. My peace was no longer just an absence of noise. It was a positive, tangible force. It had weight and texture. It was mine. And with every passing hour in the Balinese sun, with every genuine smile from a stranger, with every page of my book turned to the soundtrack of crashing waves, Qley, Bianca, the hive, the airport Marriott, the entire gilded, fragile world I'd left behind, it all faded. Not with a bang, but with the gentle, inexorable sigh of a wave pulling back from the shore, taking its debris with it. I was proving them wrong, after all, not by funding their luxury, but by building my own. And the construction, I was discovering, was the most satisfying part. 2 months later, the Balinese sun was a memory stored in the easy looseness of my shoulders and a lingering hint of tan beneath my winter coat. The piece, however, was not a souvenir. It was a permanent installation. My new apartment was smaller, older, and entirely mine. It smelled of books, good coffee, and the lemon-scented cleaner I used myself. The silence was a companion, not an accusation. I was seeing Claire, the woman from the woodworking class. It was light, fun. We went to indie films and cheap noodle shops. She laughed at my jokes, not at my shoes. It was uncomplicated. It was real. The encounter happened on a mundane Sunday. I was at the local organic grocer, a place Qley would have deemed quaint and under-curated. I was in the coffee aisle, comparing single-origin beans, debating between Sumatran and Ethiopian. I was content in my indecision. Leo. The voice was a scratch on the pristine vinyl of my comm. I knew it instantly, but it took a full second to place it in this new context. I turned. Qley stood at the end of the aisle, clutching a basket containing a single, sad-looking prepared salad and a bottle of expensive alkaline water. She looked reduced. The laser-sharp polish was dulled. Her hair was pulled into a practical, messy bun. She wore leggings and a puffer jacket, functional, not fashionable. The most striking thing was her eyes. They held none of their old, entitled fire. They were wide, anxious, and deeply tired. Qley, I said. My voice was even. Not warm, not cold. A simple acknowledgement of a fact, like noting the price of the coffee. She took a hesitant step forward. Hi, you're here. I am, I replied, turning back to the coffee shelves. How are you? The banal pleasantry seemed to stun her. How am I? She repeated, a brittle laugh escaping. Seriously? After everything, I selected the Ethiopian blend and placed it in my basket. I finally gave her my full attention, leaning casually against the shelf. Was there something you needed? I asked. It was the tone of a professional receiving an unexpected, but not unwelcome, drop-in. Her composure cracked. I needed you not to destroy my life over one stupid fight, she hissed, her voice low but vibrating with pent-up emotion. A passing elderly lady glanced over, and Qley flushed. I didn't react to the volume. It wasn't a fight, I corrected, my voice still calm. It was an ultimatum. You presented a transaction. I considered the terms and accepted a different clause. One with better conditions for me. She blinked, processing the corporate metaphor. So it was revenge? A calculated move to humiliate me. I allowed a small, genuine, and utterly non-hostile smile to touch my lips. It was the smile of a man who'd solved a complex problem. It wasn't about you at all. Not after I said okay. That was the last moment your opinion was a relevant data point in my decision-making matrix. Bali was a variable change. It was about recalibrating my own settings. She stared at me, her mouth slightly open. I was speaking a language she didn't understand, the language of self-possession. You've changed, she finally whispered. Yeah, I agreed, nodding slightly. I have. I moved to push my cart past her. Wait. She reached out, her hand stopping just short of touching my arm. Is there any chance? Now that things have calmed down? Now that I've seen things clearly? I got therapy. I really have. I stopped. I looked at her, not with anger or resentment, but with a pure, analytical clarity. I saw the desperation, the attempt to package her loneliness as growth. I saw the ghost of the woman who thought a luxury vacation was a suitable proxy for respect. No, I said. The word was clean, final, and carried no emotional weight. There's no chance. But why? The plea was raw now, stripped of all pretense. We had 3 years. Don't they mean anything? I made a mistake. One mistake. They meant something, I acknowledged. They meant I was willing to build a life with someone who saw me as a tool. That was my mistake. And I've corrected it. I gestured vaguely around the store, at my basket, at myself. This is the correction. I don't think about you, or Bianca, or the villa, or the airport. I don't think about any of it. And that, I said, meeting her eyes directly, is the proof, isn't it? The definitive proof. I don't have to prove anything to you anymore. The only person I needed to prove something to was the man in the mirror. And he's satisfied. Her face crumpled. It wasn't the performative crying from the voicemails. This was the silent, devastating collapse of a worldview. She had come here hoping for a negotiation, for guilt, for a chance to re-enter the story as the redeemed heroine. She found instead that the story was over, the book was closed, and I was already deep into a new, more interesting volume. You really don't care anymore, she stated, the realization dawning like a cruel sunrise. I genuinely don't, I confirmed. It wasn't said to hurt her. It was simply the truest thing I'd ever said to her. Take care of yourself, Qley. I didn't wait for a response. I pushed my cart down the aisle, the wheels whispering on the polished floor. I turned the corner toward the checkout. My heart rate was steady. My hands were dry. I felt nothing but a mild appreciation for the Ethiopian coffee beans in my basket. At the checkout, I saw her one last time, through the store's front window. She was standing on the sidewalk, the cold wind tugging at her jacket, staring at nothing. She looked small, insignificant, not in a vengeful way, but in a factual one, like a piece of litter blown into a corner. I paid, took my bag, and walked to my car, a sensible, used sedan I'd bought with cash. I started the engine, connected my phone, and selected a podcast I enjoyed about marine biology. The host's soothing voice filled the space, talking about the symbiotic relationships in coral reefs. As I pulled out of the parking lot and merged into the gentle Sunday traffic, a final, quiet thought surfaced. I had told her I didn't think about it, but in that moment, I did. I thought about the number. 73 calls. Not a single one had been worth answering. Not a single one contained a word I needed to hear. The satisfaction wasn't in her downfall. It was in the profound, unshakable quiet that had followed. The quiet that was now my life. I drove home. My phone, resting in the passenger seat, did not light up. It did not buzz. It was silent the whole way. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.